Group, the African American, what's it called, Heritage and Cultural?
It's it is 4:30. All the Board of Commissioners meeting to order. And we have a roll call.
Here?
Commissioner Blackman. Commissioner Copeland.
Present.
Commissioner Outlaw. Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Pettit.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do we have a question, Mr. Warner from,
Yes, Ms. Card, would like to make a public comment.
Afternoon, board. Allow me to comment. Matt, the April 22nd meeting minutes, the meeting minutes that were approved. Reflect that. Chairman Scott is present during the discussion came up with the meeting minutes being approved from the March meeting, Chairman Bengal ran the meeting. Except Chairman Scott was present, arrived after roll call.
which is true.
Correct.
During the meeting minute, the review of the meeting minute. Bengal, and I'm not sure if it was Commissioner Reddick or Paul, stated that neither of them saw him during the meeting. It was a Zoom meeting. I have a recording of the video, and there's no indication, not saying that Chairman Scott was not telling the truth. It's just he was not in the meeting room, did not appear to the public in the meeting. So.
Right.
So my question is, how could the chairman be present and did not run the meeting? Like, if the chairman was there, why didn't he run the meeting?
No, so you're questioning the April 22nd minutes, right?
Pretty sure it was April 22nd.
Yes. And we made those corrections because we said following roll call, Vice Chair Sabrina Bengal determined that a quorum was present. We made a motion to adopt the minutes with the changes.
Right, but you questioned and somebody else, another.
Yes, we did. And he was on, and it was confirmed that he was on Zoom.
And I had asked her to run the meeting because I knew that
Yeah,
I
I
was
was gonna.
Yeah.
Here's my question. I videotaped the entire meeting and at no time did the box come up that Chairman Scott was there. And once again, I'm not
Yeah.
questioning you not telling the truth.
Oh, that's fine.
It's noted that he was present during the meeting and that he was.
If it is not selected to show non-video participants, it will not show on that box.
I totally understand that.
Because if he called in without having the video, you don't necessarily have him on.
But the box will come up and it will say.
No, it doesn't have
It
to.
will have a phone. But the purpose of a public body is to conduct public business in public, not behind the scenes or because.
Let me wait a minute. It's not being behind the scenes. And the fact was I wasn't running the meeting, so I don't see why that is issue since I wasn't running the meeting.
No, my question is, if you were present,
Right.
why didn't you run the meeting?
Because we had agreed a while back that who was going to be, we wanted to be physically here.
I guess I was bringing that up because there's no indication that you were present on video or you weren't in the room because I was here. It was questioned, it was brought up by Chairman Commissioner Bengal, and I don't remember who else. I should have written it down.
Yeah.
So there was a question about it.
Okay.
And I guess it's supposed to be accurate meeting minutes. And also Chairman or Commissioner Susan Blackman arrived via video after the meeting ended.
No, she was on before then,
Yeah.
because I saw her on. Matter of fact, she came on after I came on.
What I'm saying is me physically sitting in this room from watching, and I have a video of the
Okay.
entire thing. It did not show that either of you were present. So I'm not questioning you saying that you're present. I'm not questioning that at all.
Okay,
I'm
got it.
questioning the actual
Got it.
minutes,
Got it.
what happened. So,
Gotcha.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Noted. Review the approval of the minutes, review the minutes, please. Quite sure you have, but this is the time to officially do so. Any concerns and things noted about the minutes that need to be?
I make a motion that we adopt the minutes as presented. Thank you.
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's approved. Finance report, Ms. Lee.
Present the year-to-date consolidated income statement as of May 31st, 2024. Total operating revenue for Trent Court is $368,207. For the rostering at $31,117. For Better Vision Housing Corporation, $43,069. New Bern Towers, $490,677. The next page, total expenses for Trent Court, $499,330. For the roster, $1,957. For Better Vision Housing Corporation is $0. New Bern Towers, $423,281. Total profit for Trent Court is $1,342,183. For the roster, it's negative $840. Better Vision Housing Corporation, $43,069. And for New Bern Towers, $57,386. Any questions?
Any comment from Ms. Allen?
No, I'm
Ms.
just-
Lee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and just,
Allen, okay.
and just for the public record, these are year-to-date numbers, correct?
Yes,
All right, okay.
that is marked on the top of it now. It says year to date.
Yes, I see that. Thank you.
You entertain a motion to,
Make a motion that we adopt the finance report as stated.
second. All in favor of accepting the finance report as reported, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Executive Director's Report.
Good afternoon, everybody. What I'd like to first do is start with the Inspire score report for New Bern Towers. If you all recall, HUD has changed the process. It used to be the REACT score that you all were used to and formally identified as, and now it's still under REACT, but it's called Inspire. I hope it is inspiring, the score we received. But what we did, if you all recall, we had a free inspector come in. The inspector that was scheduled to do the inspection, we had talked with them about delaying that inspection to give us a chance to be able to make some repairs to the facility. He relinquished his ability to do the inspection as far as the formal inspection, to be able to come in and help us do the pre-inspection. He and another team member walked the properties with our staff, did a complete review of the entire building, unit by unit, to identify the problems that they had identified in the building. Our maintenance team, did all of those repairs based on that inspection. And so when the inspector actually came on April 22nd to perform the inspection, we have the score. If you all recall, last year, you all scored in the 60s. And so the score that we received this year, the preliminary property threshold, or the preliminary projected inspection score was 86. But the final projected inspection score was 85. So we scored an 85 at New Bern Towers. Based on what staff has shared with me, that's one of the first times in a very, very, very long time that we scored that high. And so I just want to acknowledge that the staff did a great job from the maintenance, property management, working with the tenants to get those minor repairs done. There were only minor identified things that I shared with you all before, that they gave us 24 hours in those areas to make those repairs. We did that, but the other items we passed without a problem. So the final score for Newton Towers is a 85.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your leadership in that space.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
detail that you're doing, because for them to say that, it's just about guidance and direction, and
Yeah.
you brought a lot, you're bringing a lot of that, so we appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, sir. Well, we enjoy it, and the staff is coming on board. We have they laugh, but we have a theme around here is that we won't fail our process. Our process may fail us, but we're not gonna fail our process. And so we're putting processes in place, and the staff is adhering to it, and we're working together well on those items.
So will Trent Fork go through the same process as well?
They will at some
Okay,
point.
at some point.
They'll notify us on whether it's this
So
year.
they
or
don't
next
do
year.
it, they don't do it at the same time then?
Ma'am, no, it's whenever it randomly comes up in the HUD system, they'll identify you. They generally only identify you within a 30-day period of time. They give you generally a 30-day notice that they're coming. So it's generally, the intent is you should maintain the properties consistently. But going from the REACT to the Inspire inspection checklist, they've identified a different scoring criteria. And so this is the first year that HUD is going to the new Inspire inspection process. And so we're delighted to have scored through.
That's good. Plus up with that is, even though the structures are different, at least identifying the types of things they're looking at, and then go ahead and be proactive in the trick corner area, and go ahead and start working on those deficiencies that exist.
I want to say, first of all, congratulations. I'm glad we get the sort of historical view, because, as someone new, I would look at this and not know, is this good, bad, or ugly,
Sure.
right? So that's good. I assume though you're the ones that are identified here, we're gonna work.
Yeah, so we've already addressed those other deficiencies. And again, we're gonna have some discussion a little bit later regarding the envelope of the building, because we are having some problems on the envelope of the building. So I just want to share Fred forward.
I knew that was coming.
It's gonna be on, just where we can I want to keep the board up to date. So I don't want no surprises. So when, at some point we're talking about water penetration, or like we got one unit that's down in the towers now, because again, the water is coming through the cavities of the wall, but that's the skin where that water is coming in. So I want to make sure that you all are kept abreast and know what's going on and why. So as we continue to talk about capital needs and potential improvements, or at some point reconstruction, you understand the whys, because you've been informed throughout the whole process. Okay. Next, you all, we received, as you all know, we put out an RFP for a Choice Neighborhood Initiative implementation RFP for a grant writer planner to assist us with putting that application together. We received some applications. We went back out some time ago with your approval to make sure that we incorporated everything that we needed to within the RFP, based on the planning process and the fact that in what we heard from several of the entities that have had experience in doing this, is we needed to put the planner aspect into our RFP because we had done a planning grant before and was awarded it, but now we're moving to implementation. We got to keep in mind that was 2013, 14, 15 timeframe. So even though we have good bones within the transformation plan, it still needs to be updated. We need to bring community partners back to the table again and move forward with that aspect. So we made some modifications to that. We created an evaluation committee made up of the board and some outside individuals to help us independently evaluate those applications. They turned their scores back into Julianne, and then she provided them to me. What I'm asking for tonight is permission. CVR scored the highest with 350 points. I'm asking the board's permission to be able to move forward and work with our attorney and CVR to draft contracts and those kinds of things, and then we'll come back with a formal resolution. But tonight, based on the scores and evaluation, want to be able to move forward. So tonight, I'm just asking for the board's vote to be able to move forward to continue negotiations with CVR. And then after Jamie and I work with them, we'll come back with a contract and a formal.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Thanks to our two commissioners that obviously spent a lot of time looking at these.
There was, no question. I really did my homework and there was no question that this group here, you could see why they got the score they got. They've got the background. They've done CNI implementation grants before and won some. So these people are in the business. They know what they're doing and hate to leave money on the table. So that's why we need somebody with this kind of vision so that we can, get in line for it. The other communities are. So, with that said, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the executive director to start the process to move forward, to go to contract with the CVR company. I second.
All in favor of giving the ED permission to move forward in the process to finalize or to go through the contract with a CVR?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Next, last Monday? Trying to remember. Wednesday. Ooh, a day. Maybe they made me feel like it was Monday. No, last Wednesday, I presented to the Redevelopment Commission, our interest or continued interest in the three houses at Walt Bellamy with the Redevelopment Commission. We have gone through those houses, walked those houses with ZF as they were being developed, expressed an interest during that period of time. Naturally, as you all know, with our redevelopment plan for Trent Court, we lost X number of units during the flood in 2018. And then additionally, in order to go to our next phase of redevelopment, we need to have housing that is available within the community to move families out of Trent Court into. And so naturally, the partnership between the Housing Authority and the City of New Bern and the Redevelopment Commission of the City of New Bern is a perfect fit for a collaborative effort for us to continue to work together. And so we have been doing that since those houses started under construction. And so we've been in discussion, want to come back to the board tonight again for permission to be able to work with our attorney, work with the city's attorney to be able to put forth and draft a purchase sales agreement based on the appraisals that you all have in front of you. They made some additional upgrades, minor upgrades to the units. And so what we have agreed to on a price point is $164,000 per unit. The appraisals that you see are based on, that were done back in January. The houses were not complete, but they were still based on the plans and specs from an as-built standpoint. And those appraisal was based on $162,000 a unit, but based on the amount of upgrades that they had done and talking to Zaya back and forth, we've tentatively agreed to put in a purchase sales agreement, $164,000 a unit. Mr. Chair, I'm asking for permission from the board tonight to be able to move forward with that purchase sales agreement. And once we can finalize that between our attorneys and the city's attorneys to come to those terms, we'll present that back to the Redevelopment Commission as we agreed to last Wednesday, and then I'll come back to the board for final ratification. I'm also having a call with First Citizens on Wednesday, tomorrow, having a call with First Citizens tomorrow to talk about the financing aspect. If you all remember, we had discussion with Commissioner Bingle and I and the FEMA folks, where FEMA has agreed that the purchase of these three houses would be eligible for the FEMA funds for reimbursement. So our intent is to use some of the FEMA money. Our intent would be able to utilize some of the FEMA money to reimburse the agency. So what we would talk to the bank about is an interest-only loan agreement, because with interest-only loan agreement for no longer than 36 months, to then be able to use the FEMA money to pay that off. And so we're having that discussion with First Citizens tomorrow. Naturally, none of this is giving me permission to enter into any loan documents. It's not entered into any terms and conditions. Otherwise, we will bring back that PSA back to you all. You all will then vote on it and ratify. All I'm asking for permission tonight is to move forward with our attorney and the city's attorney to draft that formal PSA and bring it back to both entities for final approval. It also has to go to the alderman for approval as well. Good thing, and Zeb is here, but he can indicate if I'm speaking out of turn, but it's also my understanding that because we are another quasi-governmental entity, that the redevelopment commission does not have to publicly bid the process of working with the housing authority. Am I correct?
That's correct. The housing authority will not have to go through that bid. You go outright sale because you're a public service entity.
Okay. So the city has worked through those things. And again, I'm just asking for your permission to continue to negotiate those terms and conditions with the redevelopment commission.
Couple of comments on this too, because I think it's just so important. This has been the vision for a long time in our partnering with the redevelopment commission, is that, you know, they're going to be the acquirers of land and do things like this. And I believe this is the first step moving forward, that now these funds will go back into the redevelopment commission, who therefore can build additional housing, which really helps us. Therefore, we can have spaces then to start placing some people who need homes. I mean, we are really short on this, and we know the condition of Trent Court. We know that these will be brand new homes that meet the needs of today's families. And I think that's what just makes me feel so good about this process. And I look forward to you getting started just as soon as possible once we can get this closed on the next set of houses. So I think it's good for us. I really do. Thank you.
So, yes, we're in agreement, with permission for them to move forward with the attorneys to pull together a contract purchase agreement to procure the home with redevelopment commission. All in favor with that? We're good?
We have
Everybody?
the motion.
Somebody has to make a motion.
Okay.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Some of
Okay, and I'll second it.
Now, that I just said, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Our architect is trying to log in, but for some reason it's not.
It may-
Sending the link. Straight out.
Well, they say they're in the waiting room.
Oh.
There's,
You see them?
I mean. Would they be right there? on the-
Yeah, I don't know, waiting. You have to give them permission. Come in.
When Commissioner Powell came in, that's where it came up.
Oh, did it pop up there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's the bottom say? Does that say invite at the bottom?
Like,
Wondering if that,
Try sending it to them again.
I can't see that far.
Can't even.
When you have a birthday, right?
Send them the light.
Yeah. Oh, up on.
Yeah, I can. Just get them on the line.
Yeah, let's see. Call the meeting. And it says the meeting is going to start. Which one?
Been waiting for an invitation. That's what he's saying. So I'm just gonna call him and
Did Fred call is he just trying to call in?
He said he tried to call first. And it's saying,
hey, I'm just gonna put you on the line because for some reason it's not letting you in, okay? So I'm just gonna put you on speakerphone, okay? Does he need to identify himself?
Yes.
Okay, I'm figuring out well.
Thank you, Dana.
Something front.
yeah.
Reggie.
Hey, Fred, I'm just gonna talk and I know you have your information in front of you, but let's just, yeah, and that's okay. We're having some technical difficulty with it from that perspective, so we'll work through it. Let's talk about first, if you would just share with the board the concerns on the exterior of the Newbern Towers that we talked about, just kind of bring them up to date, and I'll let you do that, okay?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I appreciate you having me this evening. Again, this is Fred Ford at Stogner Architecture. Reggie had tasked us with taking a look at the towers building. There was an apparent issue internally on one of the units and vertical stacks of units in the building. And upon arrival, we could see where there was some damage along the exterior wall area, and some patching had been done over the years. There was nothing that was glaring from the inside per se that jumped out at us. So we took a look around the exterior of the building. Obviously, being 8 stories in height, we had limited access to each of the floors on the outside, but we did what we could to take a look. And from our observations, we noticed a number of concerns there. A few things that we had noted included some rusting that's pretty evident when you drive by along the front facade of the building. Most of that rusting is occurring where the PTAC units are penetrating the existing wall. And what we typically see there is that the fans in the bottom of the PTAC units are rusted and potentially allowing condensation to pass through the pans and directly to the outside of the building and possibly into the interior envelope of the building. And that could be a contributing factor to some of the damage that we're seeing on the inside units along that outside wall. A few other things that we had noted were the conditions of the windows, the glazing bulbs around the windows on a number of occasions and units that we were able to see is deteriorated to the point that you could potentially getting humidity and moisture in through the glass areas where it's actually installed in the frame. Some of the caulking, notably quite a bit of the caulking around the window units themselves has deteriorated over time. And you can see where that sealant is pulling away either from the frame itself or from the cast panels, which make up the exterior envelope of the building, which would allow water intrusion into the building, potentially at any given location that you have one of those window openings. And then you'll notice that the building itself appears to be comprised of a number of cast panels with an aggregate wash appearance to it. And those were installed originally in sections. And then those sections where the joints occur are kind of joined together with a sealant, both vertically and horizontally. And you'll see where a lot of that sealant has deteriorated over time and pulled away from those panels that could be contributing at any given point in the building envelope to allowing moisture on the inside of the building. So those were some of the vertical observations that we noted. Going up to the rooftop, the roof was in okay shape. It's nearing its useful life. Given the environmental conditions that the building sits there, New Bern along the waterfront. Some of the sealants along the perimeter of the roof where it joins the vertical parapet wall were deteriorated to the point where there's pulling away or cracking in the sealants that would allow moisture to enter in at any given point. Some of the caps or the vertical top sides of those precast panels that I mentioned that make up the facade, those horizontal joints in plane were also deteriorated. So a lot of your joints, your penetrations, such as your windows, your door frames, where you've got sealants and caulks around those penetrations, have deteriorated to the point that they really need to be evaluated and dealt with pretty promptly. The PTAC units themselves, where the pans are apparently rusted. I mentioned to Reggie, maybe an exhaustive effort, but we would probably really need to look in there and see which pans, if not all of them, probably need to be replaced. And some buildings of this construction that we've dealt with really in the recent past here within probably the last 5 years, one of which really comes to mind was of a similar construction, although it was masonry outside. They were having similar issues with their PTAC systems and water infiltrating system. Another mechanical system in that one building.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna hang up.
Did someone have a question, Reggie? I'm
No.
sorry.
No, sir. Somebody was logging off the telephone onto the screen, so they're in.
Okay.
Go right
All
ahead.
right. Another component to the mechanical systems, at least in that we had assessed, and I'm not sure in this particular building, unfortunately, we don't have that we could find comprehensive building plans of the original construction, but the previous building that we assessed actually had a condensate drain pipe that was used to drain the condensation from each of the PTAC units vertically in the exterior wall envelope, and had found that some of that had deteriorated within the wall, allowing moisture to enter. So that was another kind of a hidden piece to that situation we were dealing with. It's kind of unknown here unless we really get into some further destructive investigation where we would open up the wall and kind of assess some of those conditions. And these things, in addition to some of the interior things where I think Reggie's probably going to talk about, are some concerns that we have, obviously, from a building standpoint, should be looked at fairly soon. As this other building that we were assessing, we found that there was enough moisture entering into the building envelope that it impacted the exterior wall framing to the point that literally some of the metal studs had deteriorated by rust to the point that they really were not the top and bottom tracks of the structural floor system to help stabilize that exterior envelope. So, and in addition to that, they had extensive mold conditions inside the wall envelope from that moisture getting in, the humidity and temperature differentiation between the exterior and the interior with moisture in there, causing some, extensive mold problems for them. So we've not got to that point of investigation, but that's certainly something that agencies should be considering and looking at this property.
Thank
So
you.
that's kind of a summary on the outside
Yeah,
already.
no, thank you. And really, the intent of what I wanted Fred to be able to do and what I'm trying to investigate is as we continue to know that my experience has told me as I look at the building that I needed to do a further study of the building to see that what the minor problems that I see on the surface, my experience said they're much bigger issues than just what I was visually seeing. And so I had Fred come in, we even had Fred down the other week with Pipeworks, our local plumber here in New Bern, because my staff didn't know where the cutoff valves were throughout the building. And because of the flood, we lost the plans and specs. So Fred came down, Alan at Pipeworks, they went floor by floor, unit by unit to be able to identify where the cutoff valves are. And so Fred is gonna put together a plan along with Pipeworks, and then they're gonna come back and go back through to make sure that even if we gotta change out some of the valves to make sure they're working. So that way, whenever we got a flood or some particular issue, my team, as well as Pipeworks, will know specifically where to go, how to do it, and how quickly we can get that water turned off in the event of some type of issue. So we're taking a more proactive stance to make sure we know the conditions of the building as well as where the cutoff valves are, et cetera, so we can manage it in the best way we possibly can. So today is just we're
General
gonna
information.
Yeah, today is just to give y'all information. I want to keep the board informed step by step as we go through this process. We're gonna do a lot more work, and I'll bring that information back to you and at some point in the future, we'll probably apply to HUD for some special funding to be able to do these type of repairs, but this is the
We
beginning.
do that?
We can, yeah, they have emergency funds and they have other funding that are available, but then also we'll look at, whether it's again, it may be a 9% tax credit application that we completely refurbish the towers completely and do that. But once again, you can't do that when you got people living in those units. So then we got to have more units again to be able to move people to while on top of working with Trent Court. So we have some tasks before us, but I want to keep you all aware because I didn't want a year from now or 2 years from now, somebody come and tell you, and they're like, well, we had Reggie here and he never brought these things up to us. So I'm just trying to make sure that you all are aware of the conditions of our assets as we go along, and so you can make informed decisions. But that was the intent. Okay, so again, it's just for information. The next thing is you all authorized us to begin, as you all know, we're doing exploratory investigation of properties and assets within the community that we can utilize potentially for the redevelopment of units that were lost at Trent Court. And so based on the transformation plan, we're looking at everything that's available within the 5 Points area. The FR Dennis property, the school is one of those assets that we're looking at. The school district, as you all know, are not doing anything with that particular property. You all authorized us to be able to do an investigation on the possibilities of redevelopment. The city stepped in and provided for phase 1 and phase 2 reviews, environmental reviews for the property. So we're happy that the city was committed to doing that. And so what I have tasked Fred with is one, being able to tell me the current conditions. Sabrina knows and Zeb, we walked that property. We've gone inside the building. We didn't go to the second floor because it's not safe to be able to do that. But from a historical perspective, we know the commitment that the community has to that property and what it means to the community. If there's an opportunity in a way that we can utilize that land as well as the property to refurbish, to be able to utilize the school and turn into some units, we want to be able to do that. So I will send out, Fred was going to have it on screen today, but I will send out to you all by email. Ms. Carter, I'll send it to you as well for your records. But I will send out to you just a schematic. It's nothing etched in stone, nothing saying that this is what we're going to do. But I did want to present that to the board, where some schematics of floor plans of using the existing wing of the first and second floor. Fred, based on the 3 2 and 3 bedroom or 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom? What was that for the existing rooms?
Yeah, so what we've got Reggie laid out right now, and we had a CNI host last week that we had to deal with HUD coming in from Washington that we're part of a team of and a few other things. So we're a little behind with Reggie on this, but we're picking steam back up. But Reggie, since last week, we've laid out a couple of plans from the one that I give you a preview of.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, so I'll get those over to you tomorrow and let you put that in the packet
Okay.
as kind of a preliminary schematic preview of where we're going. And, but we've been able to lay out 10 2-bedroom units and 6 3-bedroom units, which include, type A, type B units for accessibility.
Mhm.
And then on the site, I've shared with Reggie that I felt to be sensitive to the context of the property with a lot of, older 1940s, 50s style townhouse conglomeration of development around the site. We were looking at trying to nestle in 12 additional townhouse units, which would kind of address the streetscape along West Street there, and then try to get the parking located behind the townhouses and maybe in front of the West Street elevation of the existing school building, so that you would have the parking interior to the site development where you really see those townhouses out along West Street, and then interior to the property, you would gain access into the front entry of the 2-story school multifamily building. And then off to the right, we'd like to try to reutilize the existing cafeteria multi-purpose space for a community building, which would basically serve a program for the tax credit possible application there. So we'd have a couple office spaces, maybe a computer room, a meeting space and whatnot to serve that parcel of development.
So you can see, well, and I'll send that to you. So potentially we could do some townhomes, put some 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom units inside the old school part and get about 28 units, and then in a community room space with some offices as well. And that could refurbish and really make that corridor extremely attractive and keep that old building. So we're working towards that, and
It's the life to it.
yep, and I'll get, once Fred sends that to me tomorrow, I'll get that information out to you. But again, I just wanted to kind of give you an update that we are making progress and we're moving things forward.
Reggie does like keep putting these ideas. I bring it to me. Tell me where that is.
That's vision right there. That's vision.
Right.
That's vision. That's good. That's vision.
And as Sabrina said, the school district, when we had those walkthroughs, I actually got an email today from Stacy Lee asking for an update, but I didn't want to give him an update until I gave the board an update this afternoon. So once I get that from Fred, I'll get that information out to you all, and then we can go from there. Because the more we can lay this design out, then that way conceptually we can take something back to the school district to say, hey, from a building standpoint, the value is in the land,
Not the building.
Not in the
not in the
building.
buildings. And then from that standpoint, we need to try to create, similar to what we're doing with the city and the redevelopment commission, of how can we create a more working relationship with the school district to be able to utilize that property to bring something back that will benefit the community as a whole.
One of the things I suggested was maybe we could work something with the school that, a unit or so they could use as incentive for new teachers, entry-level teachers at a reduced rate for recruiting purposes.
Yes.
Where the people they're trying to recruit in here don't have places to live, could be entry-level school,
Yes.
entry-level, staff, or even a fire or police, whatever. That entry level are looking for those type
That would be great.
affordable homes.
Yeah.
And I think this could be a win-win for the whole community
Absolutely.
and working with the school system, teachers, with the units that we need. So I think
Yeah.
we do a little, I'll give you this if you give me that kind of thing.
So once again, go
I
ahead.
can tell you from a choice neighborhood implementation standpoint, those concepts of affordable housing and having those partnerships with your city folks, with your county government, with the school system, are all going to be key parts to having a successful application for the implementation side of this thing. And being able to provide affordable housing to your young professionals and individuals who's, possibly wanting to move into home long-term, investment and their ownership and that kind of thing is all going to be very important as you guys start to look at the parts of this thing.
So again, Mr. Chairman, we wanted to bring you an update and provide that information as again, just as information to give you some degree of update, but I'll get that to you, the schematics. And as we continue to go forward with our investigation on the opportunities and possibilities, I'll come back at a later date with an update.
Appreciate that. That's awesome.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, thank you, Fred, for that. That was.
Yes, sir. That's it. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's vision, man. That's vision.
Well, that's all I have under my report tonight. And I appreciate the
That's all?
opportunity to present.
Wow. So,
The other reports are for information, for you all to review.
Gotten them in line. Do I need to go back and count?
Ma'am, we
Okay.
have gotten them in line and we have focused on that. Julie.
I don't have one in mind.
Okay, I don't have a towers.
It didn't, Fred. I've got it on, but it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. It should be in your packet.
On the email.
Yeah, so, but yeah, those numbers are good. But 7, 8, and 9 is for informational purposes unless y'all had any specific questions.
Where are we at with the police report? Because I haven't seen one in a while.
Pam is still working with,
Want me to call the chief? Is
yeah,
that?
yeah, it probably is at this point. Cause we've been going back and forth and what they indicated previously was the format that was previously used and how they pull data now
It's different.
is different. I forget the lady, she has 2 last names.
Yeah, Morrison Brown.
Morrison Brown.
Yep.
So I talked to her and then she had me on with their IT person that handles that kind of stuff. But they had indicated at that time that they'll try to give us based on that previous report that you all liked, but their whole system was different from when they originally created that. But yeah, maybe at this point, if you step in, that'd be a big help.
And what are we trying to do?
Well, just a police report, you know how
To be part of
it
the,
used to be part of the report and would just give you an idea. It didn't tell you what it was, but it would just say, calls for service, break-ins,
Okay.
something, whatever. Because you can't, if you've got the detail, then you can address if there's a problem, you can address what the problem is.
And we gave them a copy of the previous report, but what they said is how they pull that information off.
Different.
It's different now than the way they did when they originally created that report. So that's the difference. I'm sorry.
So question, do we have any update on the sure shot thing we discussed? Was that what it's called?
Short shot or
Sure shooter?
short.
Oh.
Safe shooter. Shot saver.
Say it's
To be very careful.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, we have not heard back from the chief yet. He said once they pull something together, they'll be in touch with us to tell us what, if any.
I heard on
National news today.
It was in the news today that they caught the gentleman that, killed the lady, who was.
Oh, in Michigan?
Right? Yeah, and so the shot spotter.
Is what got him?
Yeah. So, and just the other question in terms of on Trent Court. Our year-to-date unpaid balance up to 54,000. I saw that we had, it says 27 pending terminations for non-payment, 1 for criminal. I assume we're not gonna actually lose all 27 of those. We're reporting them because they're, but where are we standing with that?
So as we discussed at the end of the year moving forward, those individuals, I'm standing firm with our staff to make sure that, even to the point that I had this discussion with Tasha the other day, because I was looking at, to your point, I was looking at our TARS report. And even with some of the elderly, she had given, as an example, one guy was over $1,000 in arrears, but it was 3 months. And I said, no, 3 months was 1,000, so it was like 200 some dollars, $300 a month, thereabout. And so, but again, our policy is if they're late,
Yeah.
we begin that process then.
Right.
And because they were elderly, I said, well, so that's where our slogan is, we're not gonna fail our process. Our process may fail us, but we're not gonna fail our process. And so you gotta follow what we put in place, and then we can address it. That's where sympathy through the Ross program and other services go out into the community and ask people for monies to help these people. So I'm using that to answer your question is, our intent is, we're gonna follow our internal procedure.
Mhm.
Then we will go out into the community, whether it's RCS or Salvation Army or other entities, and ask them for assistance to be able to help pay rent, churches, other organizations to help these tenants get caught up. But we're following the process. Thus far, it's been pretty successful to be able to retain those people. But until you put their feet to the fire of starting the process, otherwise, you know, if you owe the rent and you're not paying the rent, it's like I tell people, the tenant has already made a decision on the first of the month that they're not paying the rent. The fact that we're at the 30th of the month and they still hadn't paid, it's not the tenant's fault. The tenant already made a decision that they weren't gonna pay. The fact that we still letting them live there, that's our fault. And so we gotta put the eviction process in place and then let them come to the table. And when we did that, based on y'all approval, people start coming in. And so what I did is concessions with some of those tenants. I said, you know, a lady came in with $1,500 and I said, well, she's ready to pay it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do for you. You know, on some of the late fees, we'll reduce some of the late fees if you make your rent current. But I need you to understand going forward, if I give you that break, then why don't you go ahead and pay next month's rent right now, and that puts you ahead. And so it's those kinds of things that we're doing, but they're coming in one by one, sitting down with us, having those discussions. But until we implement what our policy is or follow our policy, then we never get there. And that's been the problem here. It's not that anybody intentionally did anything wrong. It was just out of the goodness of their heart, they were trying to give people a chance to come in and make payment. And just the more we did that, the longer they took to pay or not pay. So that's kind of why our TARs are where they are, but
Yeah, well, the
they're 20
TARs look way better, right?
Yeah.
92 up to 99.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we're enforcing our policy.
Yeah. And then the non-payment's also gone up as has the balance a little bit, but that, you know, you know what you're working with.
That's right. That's exactly right. And also, it used to be where in public housing, the notice to show cause was 14 days prior to COVID. And so here's the difficulty. It used to be after the 5th, we had 14 days before we could start the process for the eviction. We had to notify the tenant, go through the 14-day process, then we can go to the court system. Well, since COVID, or when COVID happened, along with the moratorium, they put a 30-day process. So they've not gone back to the 14-day process. And so a month behind. So that's why I'm sharing with the staff. It's so key that before, if it was 14 days after the 5th, then we could still evict a person within that month. Now, I gotta be the 5th. So on the 6th, I can give them a 30-day notice. So now I'm already into the next month. You follow me?
Yeah.
And then I gotta go to the court and get a court date, which is probably a week and a half later. So by the time I get them out, I'm really gonna be almost 3 months in arrears by the time we get them out. And so, but there's nothing we can do about it. That's why it's so important that we follow our policy. So when the 5th hits, we give them that 30-day notice.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions for Mr. Bonner or in the area?
Oh, that's right, you don't.
I'll take a motion to,
We have no resolution.
No resolution, no need for closed session, none of that.
I make the motion that we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor of adjourning, think about saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Making great progress.
On the one last